I've been willing to make this video since the day I learned how Scrintal deals and organizes files. Here, let me show you what I mean. It doesn't matter if it is a docs file, a board, or even a file. They all have a creation date. If you look here, there is a creation date, and we can reorder them by creation date, moving the newest one to the top and the oldest one to the bottom. It doesn't matter where you create the file. Here again, I can order them and it will follow this creation date just like in my timeline. That's so cool. Okay, pin that for a moment if you don't know what the timeline system. We'll do a recap now. If you already know what the timeline system is, feel free to jump to the next chapter below. Let's start with the containers of information. As the name implies, they are spaces to keep information, but each container has information related to the same topic. And topic is a very important word here because it's not necessarily a project. It's anything related to the same topic. For example, it could be your personal documents, it could be pictures, it could be something you are learning, and even a project. If we were to compare this to something in the real world, two things come to mind. For example, repurposed shoe boxes where you keep a lot of objects. We tend to group objects that are related to the same topic on those shoe boxes. But I think a better analogy would be moving boxes. When we move, we tend to label the boxes, kitchen, toys, important stuff, documents. I think they are a better analogy. And if you are a Scrintal user, you already know that the containers of information in Scrintal are the boards. But when I created the system, I wanted those containers to have another function. I wanted them to convey status. So there are three types of status in the system. Action, everything that's happening, everything that is in progress. If you are learning something, if you need to do something, if you are thinking about a project, everything that you are doing, there is some action, is an action container. This is the type of container. Then there is static containers. Remember that I told you about the documents, personal documents, anything that can help you do your work, but not necessarily linked to an action container, something that you are doing. For example, if somebody calls you asking for if you're filling a form, nobody's going to call you for that, but if you're filling a form and you need to remember your passport number, who remembers their passport number? So you can go to a static container with your documents and take a look at that number. So they are spaces to help you do your work, resources to do your work, okay? And then there is the timeline. We talked about the timeline in the beginning. The timeline is to where everything goes when it's not in use anymore. It can be something that you worked and you're not working anymore. Let's say a client, it's not your client anymore, so it goes to the timeline. And it can be, for example, an expired document. And here, I think you understand why I think it's so cool to have this way of organizing things in Scrintal, because whatever I add to Scrintal, in theory, is already in the past, is already in that timeline. It's being created by itself. I don't have to do anything. Each file will have a date and will be ordered by creation date if we so choose to do that. Okay, let's see all this in action here. For the action containers, I'm using the start feature. If you click here, you can see that you can add a star to a board, and all the boards with stars are here. You can even reorder this. So as you can see, I have both clients at the top, then I have here a book, then I have here a video. So you can organize this in a way that better suits your needs, okay? So everything I'm doing is here. This is the action. If I'm not doing anymore, I can click here and unstart, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's take a look at what I have here. So I usually have this main doc here, a main node containing kind of small CRM of the client. So the email address, what that client does, and something that the person tells me during the sections. I think it's if I think it's helpful or useful, I'll add it to this note here. The clients notes, they also have the clients tag. If you go to Anna here, you see that there is clients here. We'll soon get there. Okay. Then there are the sessions. Okay. Each one has a different node, and they are all linked to the main node of that client. I take a lot of notes. Of course, this is not a real thing. I just created this to show you. I usually take a lot of screenshots of what the person is showing me. When I take notes during meetings, it is a lot of notes. Okay, so now let's pretend that Paul is not my client anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the star from here, and that's it. There's nothing else to do. It disappeared from here. And now the only three things that I'm doing, the only three actions are these three ones here. Okay, so here's Anna and everything else that I'm doing. But let's pretend that Paul, I don't know, a couple of months later, Paul called me. I usually have 3 to 5 sessions with a person if it's a personal organization, but if it's a company, we will naturally do more than 5 sessions. So Paul calls me back. He's a company, and I need to check Paul's information before replying to him. So what I can do here, there are many paths to get to the timeline, because remember, Paul is now in the timeline. He is in the past. I don't know, I can, for example, go to docs here, and of course this is going to be a giant list, but remember the tag, so I can filter this by tag, and I can look for my clients. Of course, there are only 2 here. This list would be a giant list, but remember, you can also refine the search. So I can do something like this, and it will filter just the names that match that tag client and that name, Paul. And of course, there are many other paths. For example, we can go to tags, and from here do the same. I can select clients, and let's pretend this list is a very long list. I can look for Paul, and it will filter by his name. And then we can scroll down here. Remember, we want to go to Paul's board. Click here. Here we are. From here, I can do something like this, move this down to start new sessions here at the top. And of course, I'm going to start Paul's board again. And if we go to the home, here it is. It's back. I'm again working with Paul. So this is how we can move things back and forth from the timeline and other status. So the entire container contains all the information we need, and because it is now here, I know that I have to do something. There is work in progress happening here. Okay, and the third status, the static containers. Let's take a look at that. I'm keeping them here at my desk. I love the analogy of a desk, and Scrintal calls it a desk, because it is where we keep everything, all the tools that help us do our work. You have a pen holder if you are a pen person. you have probably a landline or your mobile phone there. You have the charger. You have a lot. I don't know. Just think about it. You even have your coffee, your cup of coffee there. All the things that are working to as tools to support your work. We'll get back to how things are arranged here in a moment. Before that, let's take a look at this board here, which was part of an older video. So all this here is knowledge, but before it becoming knowledge, I had to learn it. So let's remove this board from here, pretend I'm still reading the book. And here is a good example of how cool it is that everything is already in the timeline, because I can delete anything. I'm not deleting that thing. So if I go to the boards, I can find that one. It is here. It still exists. So let's pretend I'm now reading this book. So what I'm going to do here is add a star. And it's here. Let's put it right here in between. Okay, let's move on up here. So it's a book I'm reading. So this is action. Again, as a reminder, it's here because it is in progress. I'm still reading. And now let's say I finished the book and I think this is something good that I should keep around my knowledge base right there at the desk here. So to add it to this space, let's search for it. Oh, it's right here. And add it to the board right here. We can even expand it like this to have it a larger dock, larger. We can make it a larger dock like this. And of course, now that I finished the book, I can remove the star from here. Like I said, there are many ways to organize things here. I like this idea of putting things around and making them the ones that are related closer together. For example, I don't know, Scrintal has some relation to Kanban. The European Union has nothing to do with this, but this kind of has something to do with Kanban. And that's how I like to organize things that I'm constantly using, put the ones that are similar close together. But, for example, here are some internet addresses. Let's say you prefer to, I don't know, create a list. We can do something like this. Click here and do this and have them, I don't know, in a more traditional style of organization. It doesn't really matter how I do it. You should look for what would be the best way to display, to order this information to make it easier to find. I think another good example of something that you should have here, for example, let's use the heading 1, I don't know, notes or quick notes. Let's make this yellow. And here you can add quick notes. Someone calls and you want to add a note here. You can just type call, I don't know, call, whatever, blah, 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 and keep adding this quick notes here for the future. So I look at a space like this just like I look at my desk. We should have things here organized in a way that makes sense for each one of us. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention in the beginning of this video, all my videos are also available ad-free for supporters on Patreon. If this was helpful, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. And if you want to help even more, please consider supporting my work on Patreon, for example. But there's also YouTube memberships, and you can even buy me a coffee. Thank you so much for your time. See you soon.